Mesdames and messieurs, it is with deepest pride and greatest pleasure that we welcome you tonight. And now we invite you to relax. Let us pull up a chair as the BAMBI Man proudly presents his review.
Certain as a sun,
rising in the east.
tell us all the sun.
Kill the beast!
Sun is on the sky. Beauty and the Beast.
Merci. I appear to have turned into a movie reviewing critic of some sort. Boy, I need to work on my French accent. Also, I need to change my hat. That's better. Boy, I'm not making a good first impression. Greetings, everyone. Brandon here. And indeed, as you can tell by the awkward opening that I just did, which I deeply apologize for, I have just gotten back from seeing Disney's latest live-action reimagining film of cinema of sorts, Beauty and the Beast. Before I begin, I should probably let you guys know right at the start that the original animated Beauty and the Beast from 1991 is a Disney film I didn't really grow up with as much as some other Disney films, like Lion King and Aladdin and all that good stuff. I just never had a VHS copy of it, never really watched any reruns of it on like ABC or the Disney Channel, as it were. So I'm not going to be able to really, spout, as much of an opinion about the film as many other people are. Let me tell you right now, the original animated version of Beauty and the Beast, it is one of Disney's classic films, and I just can't really consider myself as big a fan as some other people who actually got the chance to really grow up with it as much as they could. My God, I just feeling so happy. Anyway, I'm sure most of you are probably already aware of the story of the film and all the characters and the great message behind it. But if you don't, I shall give you the lowdown right now. So you got this selfish prince who doesn't seem to have a heart of his own, who gets transformed into a beast by a magical enchantress, who places a curse on his castle and all the people who work for him. If he can find someone who will love him truly, the curse will be lifted. Enter Belle. She's a bookworm. She doesn't really fit in with her town all that much. All the people say she's rather odd. Their words, not mine. Her father happens upon the beast and he gets imprisoned, so she rides off to the castle and he takes her place as the beast prisoner, and she meets Beast's castle friends who are turned into household objects of sorts, candlesticks, clocks, and now there's a good chance they might learn to love each other and Disney magic and all that. Now I'm going to let you guys know right off the bat here that this live-action version, while it's not as strong as the original film, there are some elements to it that I felt worked, and I was genuinely entertained by it. I mean, it's certainly... in fact, out of all the Disney remakes I've seen, I think I consider this to be one of the better ones that we've gotten. Which is really saying something, because, I think the only real Disney remake that really seemed to get my attention in terms of how good it was the last one they did, which was Jon Favreau's Jungle Book. First of all, I really do feel that everyone in this movie is actually perfectly cast into their role. Emma Watson plays Belle. She's fierce. She's independent. She doesn't take crap from anybody. She doesn't really give craps to anybody, and she's charming. She's smart. She's Belle, and I think she did a really a great job with that role. Dan Stevens is the Beast, and I think he really brought a fierce yet tender nature to the beast that, obviously while it's not quite as ferocious and as anger filled as the original animated version by voiced by Robbie Benson. I think Dan Stevens did a pretty good job, especially considering the fact that he's pretty much acting under this this bulk suit, and I'll get to the special effects a little bit later, but I think Dan Stevens did a really great job as the Beast. Luke Evans and Josh Gad really shined as guests. Luke Evans and Josh Gad shined as Gaston and LeFou. They were absolutely hilarious, and Gaston was a lot more evil in this version than I remember him being in the animated version. In the animated version, he was more of just, the typical charming, very overzealous, and it was played more for. He was a lot more funny in that version than he was in this version. In this version, he's more dignified and more sinister. But I think that really works well for his this narcissistic character who only cares about himself and marrying the prettiest girl in town, which is Belle. Josh Gad as LeFou, he was rather. Josh Gad, I feel, brought a certain human quality to LeFou that strangely enough I actually kind of feel was missing in the original animated version. In the animated version, it's not that he was a bad character, it's just that he was sort of more played as the typical sort of, oh my God, Gaston, the sort of, squealy voiced, sidekick that you see in, most animated fairy tales. But I think he brought some real humanness to LeFou. And before you ask about the controversy, let me tell you something right now. The controversy, it's there's barely any. I'm not gonna try to get into the controversy of it all, but let me just tell you that all the hoopla surrounding it is completely unjustified, I feel, and I think in terms of the marketing for this movie, I feel they really should have downplayed that, because the controversy of LeFou being quote unquote gay is not really that omnipresent, I guess is the word. There's one or two instances where he's he massages Gaston's shoulders, but Gaston is he was bolstering Gaston up. It's not like it was anything that lewd, and then at the towards the end of the and there's a couple mentions where and there's one line where he says you're so athletically inclined, and who needs them? Who needs her when you? He meant Gaston talks about Belle, and LeFou says who needs her when you've got us? And also there's something at the end that it's only a 1 second scene of him dancing with somebody. I don't see anything really wrong with that. Kevin Kline, I feel, is the real underdog of this movie. He brought such a great, a tender and human quality to crazy old Maurice. He's not even really. In the original, he was played more as this wacky inventor, but in very much Geppetto. But in this version, he actually really brought some. There were some sweet moments between him and Emma Watson as a father and daughter duo, and I think he really pulled off that character really, really well. The actors, they got to play the Beast's servants. I thought did pretty well. Ewan McGregor as Lumiere, Ian McKellen as Stanley Tucci as Master Cadenza, Audra McDonald as Madame de Garderobe, Emma Thompson as Mrs. Potts. I forget the name of the actor who plays Chip, but he was pretty charming. Gugu Umbatra, I really doubt I'm pronouncing that right, but I hope I'm not. If I am pronouncing it right, or if I'm pronouncing it wrong, I apologize. She plays Plumette. She was sweet. Let's see. Am I forgetting anyone else? If I'm forgetting anybody else from the castle staff, let me know in the comments, cause like, you know, or if I'm forgetting any actors, just let me know in the comments below, and I'll give you my thoughts on them. Now, obviously, this is not, totally a shot-for-shot remake of the original movie. There are some, changes that were made, and there have been some backstories that have been added that really helped to tighten the relationship between the characters, like the relationship between Belle and his parents, and is explored. The relationship between Belle and her mother are explored, and I thought that really brought a more emotional quality to the film. The Belle and Beast relationship in this movie, I thought, was explored pretty well too. Belle and Beast, they actually fall in love. They start to fall in love over their love of reading, which I thought was a really nice touch. And there was also this sweet moment where a Beast gives Belle this enchanted mirror that he says can take her wherever she wants, and they head to her childhood home in Paris, where she learns about more of the relationship between her mother and her father, and and why her mother ended up as she did. And I thought that was a really emotional scene, and I thought that was a really haunting scene, in my opinion. Dan Stevens portrays the Beast through this weird process of motion capture, where this is actually something I didn't understand in any of the behind the scenes interviews, where Dan Stevens says that on set he wore this gray suit, for the Beast's body, as well as stilts to help accentuate the tallness of the Beast, as well as his bigness. But apparently the facial capture was actually done later on separately, which honestly I'm not a technician, but why couldn't they have captured his face and his body at the same time while he was on set? I mean it's not like, I think that's the same process they did in Avatar, and it just kind of seems like it would have saved a little bit of time. And I know that there are going to be some people who, say they would have preferred if Dan Stevens would have done the 8 hours worth of practical makeup, to look like the Beast. But I don't think it was that bad. It wasn't. It certainly could have been worse CGI. Have you seen the CGI in Maleficent? Oh my God. Don't get me started on Maleficent. Don't get me started. In fact, all the special effects in this movie I thought were really nicely handled. I'll admit I was a bit mixed on the design of the castle staff, but on the whole, it really seems like they were trying to go for this, more humanistic designs of the servants, rather than having them just be, CGI recreations of the exact designs of Lumiere and Cogsworth and so forth. And I'll admit the only real one that sort of, caught me off guard was, I thought Madame de Garderobe was a little bit off-putting, but it didn't really take me out of the movie. It was just, she looked a bit weird. So finally, let's talk about the songs. And the musical numbers in this movie, I think, were really nicely handled as well. I know a lot of people have talked about, the obvious auto-tune they used on Emma Watson at points, but, I didn't think it was that noticeable. I mean, sure, she didn't hit, the same amount of great notes that Paige O'Hara does in the original. She's no Pavarotti, obviously. But, I think for her first time singing, she did a decent job, Emma Watson. especially in the opening number Bell, which I thought was nicely handled. You get all the typical songs you'd expect to hear in this movie. Belle, Be Our Guest, Something There, Gaston. Of course, the title song with the beautiful waltz. With the beautiful waltz that Emma Watson and Dan Stevens performed. I think it was really nicely handled. Really beautiful. Everybody I feel sings quite well. You know, even the people who haven't really been known for singing a lot, like Dan Stevens and Emma Watson. I think they did a decent job. I can't remember if Kevin Kline has ever done any musicals, but if he hasn't, I liked his little ditty towards the beginning of the movie, "How Does a Moment Last Forever," which we'll get into more when we get into the new songs. Speaking of which, let's talk about the new songs. I'll give you a quick rundown of the songs as I heard them in the film. The first new song is called "How Does a Moment Last Forever," and it's a really charming and beautiful little ditty that's actually sung 3 times in the film. Once by Kevin Kline, once by Emma Watson, and once by Celine Dion towards the end. It's a beautiful piece. "Days in the Sun," which is sung by the Castle staff as well as Belle, which is I guess sort of the live action Beauty and the Beast version of equivalent of Human Again. It's hard to say whether or not it's as good as Human Again, but I thought it was a nice little tune. You also get the song "Evermore," which is sung by Dan Stevens as the Beast, which I actually really adore. It's sung by both Dan Stevens and Josh Groban. I think that's actually my favorite song in the entire film. I guess I'm a sucker for Phantom of the Opera style numbers, but Music of the Night style numbers, and I think Dan Stevens handled it pretty beautifully, you know, and also Josh Groban as well. Bottom line, guys, this movie, while not as perfect or as masterful as the original animated film, is still pretty charming, and I consider it to be one of the better Disney remakes we've gotten. In fact, I think I may even consider this to be my second favorite of the Disney remakes. Keep in mind, however, that I have yet to see Pete's Dragon, so who knows where that will end up on my ranking of the Disney remakes we've gotten so far. Obviously, if you're a fan of the original, it's hard for me to say whether or not you'd enjoy this. I mean, it is really nice to hear these numbers again back on the big screen in a live-action light. But you know, if you really did get a chance to grow up with Beauty and the Beast and you didn't like this movie for some version, I can't stop you, because I didn't really grow up with it as much as you did, obviously, so I guess I'd take it for what it's worth. As a person who didn't really get a chance to grow up with Beauty and the Beast, I thought it was charming, and it's a great live action counterpart to its animated brother or sister, however you want to put it. Overall, I give this film 3 glowing candlesticks out of 4. So yeah, I guess that is about it in terms of the review. I thank you all for watching, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, you can check out the last review I did of a Disney remake, which was the Jon Favreau version of The Jungle Book, which should be located on the screen somewhere in the cards, however I decide to do it in editing. And also, if you want to see the last vlog review I did, you can see the video I did on Star Wars The Force Awakens, way back in 2015. We are going way back with that one. And if you'd like to see more future video content in the future, be sure to hit the subscribe button. And if you've seen Beauty and the Beast, let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. And as a bit of extra fun for you, in terms of a discussion topic, are there any animated films you feel would be best suited for a live-action adaptation? Or even a remake of sorts? Well, let me know that in the comments below. And as always, I shall see you guys in the future. I'm Brandon the BAMBI saying, take care, and I shall see you at the movies. And I know you'll never leave me, even as you click away.